just because they're black and they look kind of like each other doesn't make them all bad. When the RCMP put out this opinion piece saying that they believe that the R9 is a prohibited firearm, it has the impact of law. Who's going to buy one of my rifles now with this firearms reference table out there that says that the R9 is a prohibited rifle? But there's no way to actually fight the FRT because it's not a legal document. And that's the problem is only in the firearms file is the RCMP getting away with this. Like, Canadians should be just disturbed that the RCMP are basically making law and then washing their hands of it.
Sydney Fizzard for Rebel News here in Calgary, Alberta, for an interview with J.R. Cox of Sterling Arms. Now, if you're a Canadian who owns firearms or you're someone who sells or transports them, well, J.R. Cox has gone through it all. He is the perfect example of everything wrong right now in Canada regarding our firearms system. The increased targeting of legal firearm owners and distributors and producers in Canada began in 2020 after the tragic mass shooting event in Nova Scotia, which left 22 people dead during a 13-hour rampage by a violent individual. It needs to be noted that the RCMP ignored criminal warnings and violence in this individual's history. While he was doing the shooting, he was also impersonating an officer in an RCMP appearing vehicle and outfit entirely. And he had a $500,000 recent transaction, which suspiciously enough came through a sort of informant financing portal, as the RCMP confirmed. And again, he did this with illegally obtained firearms. Instead of holding the RCMP to account or cracking down on firearms smuggling, then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau decided to punish law-abiding firearms owners.
We are banning 1,500 models and variants of these firearms by way of regulations.
There are 3 classifications for firearms in Canada: non-restricted, restricted, and prohibited. In prohibiting these firearms, the Federal Liberal Party of Canada prevented thousands of illegal firearms dealers, producers, owners, and movers of firearms in Canada from doing anything with their guns, whether it be buying, selling, transporting, importing, or using. With a 2-year grace period to legally sell their firearms or risk a future federally enforced gun buyback while their property collects dust in a safe. Then, in 2022, by another order in council, the Liberals effectively did the same thing to all handguns across the country.
It will no longer be possible to buy, sell, transfer, or import handguns anywhere in Canada.
Bill C-21 then became law in 2023, restricting legal firearms owners' rights even further.
I'm proud to announce a package of reforms that will strengthen both Bill C-21 and Canada's ban on AR-15 assault-style firearms. It includes amendments to the bill that will be brought forward by Liberal members.
And then last year in December, the Liberals again listed hundreds more rifles as prohibited.
The government is adding a further 324 unique makes and models of assault-style firearms to the list of prohibited firearms in Canada. This prohibition takes effect immediately.
And then they did the same thing again in March this year.
Today, our government is finishing the job, adding a further 179 unique makes and models of assault-style weapons to the list of prohibited firearms here in Canada. This prohibition takes effect immediately. It is our hope, our government's intention, that this be the last discrete listing of assault-style firearms for prohibition.
Now, earlier this month, the RCMP, seemingly envious of the federal Liberal government's ability to prohibit firearms at leisure, decided to take it upon themselves to do the same, listing multiple firearms as prohibited on their firearms reference table, which is used by law enforcement and informs on gun classifications, despite not actually being a legal document.
Instead of being rooted in a primal definition of what should be prohibited, it appears that not only has the Liberal Party, but also the RCMP have decided to move forward with prohibiting firearms simply on aesthetics or being involved in some way to another gun that may have already been prohibited. Ultimately, this is a cascading effect where all firearms will eventually be prohibited under this kind of methodological application of firearms classifications in Canada. And this new listing by the RCMP included the Sterling Arms International R9 rifle, which they specifically designed following the 2020 restrictions on firearms so that this would not be listed as a prohibited firearm. Since 2020, J.R. Cox, the president of Sterling Arms International, has had to close some of his businesses as a response to this increasingly restrictive towards firearms environment here in Canada. And he's made the tough decision to relocate to the United States in order to survive as a business. As one by one, the federal government decided to remove his firearms from shelves across the country.
Sterling Arms is a Canadian manufacturer. It has roots and connections to the UK. In the UK, they wanted to take Sterling Arms and go more military law enforcement. I wanted to take Sterling Arms and go commercial and sporting. But if it's the commercial, it's the sporting, hunting, that's really my focus, and that'll be through Canada. Prior to 2020, we were going concern. We were moving probably anywhere from 800 to 1,200 rifles a month. 2020 hit, we were caught with a couple of rifles were banned. We were dropped down to about 500, then 400, 300. I had other businesses too. I had the Shooting Edge in Calgary, Target Sports in Toronto, and then this business, Sterling Arms. I mean, in 2020, with the rifle ban, I mean, both of my retail stores lost 50% of their income overnight. Then the handgun freeze in 2023 killed another 25, 30%. So we went from, like in Calgary, we went from having 1,000 full members to 400 full members. So, I mean, I had to shut that business down last year. So in October, I shut down that. And that was there for 25 years, employed 40 people. So it was a going concern. It was really, really devastating. And I hung on as long as I could. I mean, I canceled or cashed in my military pension for a full payment to put towards the bills, like all kinds of things. Till finally, my wife and I had to decide that we just couldn't do it. We'd be bankrupt and for nothing. Like really, so we had to shut that down. And then we were getting ready to launch a new rifle last year. In December, we had built 600 to send to dealers, and they banned that rifle. So we have the R18, which is our 5.56 rifle. This got banned in December of 2024. So we built 600 of them, and we were going to ship them out. So we want to do a nationwide launch on December 10th, and then on the December 5th, just as we were actually boxing them up to ship them out to dealers. We got told that morning that these were banned. So we went from 5 rifles to 2 rifles to 1 rifle as of December of 2024. And then we had the R9, which we were selling here in Canada. It was the last gun standing. And it was designed specifically to counter the 2020 OIC. And so this is the 9mm. And it's a beautiful rifle for competition. Like, it's designed as a high round count gun. So people can really abuse this thing and take it out and have fun with it. Like, it's just a fun gun to shoot. So we had this, and we had this on the market, and we started selling this guy, and it's a fabulous little rifle. But we thought, with our R9, we were able to keep Sterling Arms here going. We were employing 7 people. We were, because we're moving about 300 rifles a month. So we're moving a lot of guns. So we was happy. So we kept everybody employed. We were doing things. Things were good. And through Target Sports, our Toronto location. But we have 40 dealers across the country that were selling the Sterling rifles. And we loved supporting them. They were mostly smaller. We didn't have any box stores. So the Sterling Arms rifle really was helping keep a lot of these businesses in the black. And so it made me proud. It made me proud as as part of the firearms community and as a competition shooter. So I really loved that. It really helped me a lot. And then last Sunday, the RCMP just quietly published an opinion piece that they determined that the firearm was a prohibited rifle for Canada, based on a rifle design from the 1980s called the AR-180B.
Can you point to the thing that makes this prohibited?
No. I can't point to what makes it prohibited because they've said that this is just a gun that is based on another gun. So there's no way to point to this and say, oh, this is what makes it prohibited. Like on the R18, they said, well, the other R18s have a piston system. They have the internal gas system. Like they have some of the same they have enough of the same physical characteristics that they're variants of each other. It's still not correct. Like they're versions, not variants. But the RCMP are using those two words very loosely and interchangeably. But they have very, very different connotations as to how they should actually be applied in engineering and in technical specifications. There's something called the firearms reference table. It was never mandated by the RCMP. It was just a brainchild by two people that worked there, Bill Etter and Murray Smith. And these guys just said, oh, wouldn't this be cool to make this database on firearms? Because we're gun people, so we'll make this database. And it's grown and grown and grown. However, because it's not a legal document, it's not a formal policy-driven document, they just can keep playing with it. So what they instead of they issue it out and they say it has no bearing in law. The front page says this is not a legal document. The government of Canada, they went to the CCFR, had a court challenge. They were in the Superior Court last year. And this same Murray Smith went in there and said, well, this is just us. This is just an opinion. It has no bearing in law. This is not a legal document and cannot be used as such. However, as we've seen, when the RCMP put out this opinion piece saying that they believe that the R9 is a prohibited firearm, it has the impact of law. I mean, who's going to buy one of my rifles now with this firearms reference table out there that says that the R9 is a prohibited rifle? Like it has this, but there's no way to actually fight the FRT because it's not a legal document. It's an internal policy piece. And they said first the AR-180B was the parent that this was the child of. And then this was a child of the AR-180B. So then that's how this got banned. And then they said, oh, and then by comparison, this one is also a variant now of this. So this is double banned, right? People go, well, they look very similar. Well, that's fine. But that's a design aesthetic by a manufacturer. So we've designed these saying, oh, we want people to look at this and go, oh, that's a Sterling Arms. They're making a lot of determinations based on opinion and aesthetics, not what the rest of the world does. Like the rest of the NATO nations are really, while they may not define variant, the practical application is based around technical specifications and commonality. So something has to fit on something else to be a variant of it. It can't just kind of look like it. Otherwise, every car is a variant of the Model A. Every truck, Ford makes the F-150. Well, then the Chevy is a variant of the 150 because they look kind of similar, right? And that's the problem is only in the firearms file is the RCMP getting away with this. Like Canadians should be just disturbed that the RCMP are basically making law and then washing their hands of it. Here's what the law says. Here's the box. And we judge everything based on this box, not this is the box, but you know what? We still don't like it. So we're just going to say it's banned and then somebody has to fight us. So we get to use the system as punishment and to enforce our will. And that's the problem right now is Ottawa's allowing that to happen. And they should actually be reining the RCMP and saying stop. You don't make law, we make law.
Now, at your swearing-in ceremony, you said the RCMP is moving forward on building a modern, inclusive, and diverse police organization.
Gun bans make great distraction.
Trudeau may be gone, but Carney has picked up his same rhetoric.
We will quickly, and I mean quickly, reinvigorate the buyback of assault-style firearms.
Hunters, collectors, competitors, and defenders of tradition are still being targeted. While criminals run wild under liberal policy. But we are fighting back by delaying and dismantling unjust legislation, by confronting policy at its source, like on the global stage at the United Nations, through our unmatched record of political lobbying and our Save Firearms program, actively saving firearms from government crushers in real time. And we're not done yet. Join us, Canada's National Firearms Association, in defense of freedom.
Well, what's really good is I've got 6 MPs who are all going to fight this in Ottawa as well. Like they're going to the public safety minister with individual letters. Like they're going to push individually because this is very specific. This isn't like they want to overturn the Firearms Act. They're saying the RCMP have done an injustice and they need it dealt with quickly. So I have that, the political side working, but as well as the RCMP, like I said, they finally after a week reached out to me last night and said they're willing to re-examine this. So I have to get that technical data package, even though the first one laid it out clearly. But I think, in this time, not to sound sarcastic, but I'm gonna have to use crayon and big pictures again to really explain it to them with a side-by-side to an AR-180B and the R18 Mark III to show them, they're very different firearms. Just because they're black and they look kind of like each other doesn't make them all bad. Our rifle was just used last month by Tristan Rutledge. He fires the Steel Challenge. He won 3rd in the world. So he went down to the States and competed with our rifle and came in 3rd. Like this is a competition sporting rifle. This isn't a weapon of war that Trudeau kept piping about. The most amount of bullets in the shortest amount of time to kill as many people. Nonsense.
These weapons were designed for one purpose and one purpose only: to kill the largest number of people in the shortest amount of time. There is no use and no place for such weapons in Canada.
All of a sudden we came under attack and everything we have, like I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in guns that I can't do anything with. So they've made all of our property valueless. They've made it irrelevant and they've insulted us. Like we've been called all kinds of names by the left and the Liberal Party and the NDP just because we own firearms. And I'm really tired of it. I'm tired of the insults, and I'm tired because the shooting community that I belong to and have for my entire life are really good people. Like, and they're from all walks of life. Like you'd be amazed on who owns firearms and who owns restricted firearms. Firearms are not a problem in society. Like legally, lawfully owned firearms. They're not a problem. There's over 93,000 handgun owners in Alberta. There's 250,000 handguns in southern Alberta. If there was a problem with lawfully owned firearms in Alberta alone, we would all know, and there isn't. Our names run through a database every day to see if there's any hits on any of the police systems to look into it. So that way they're always on top of if there's any domestic violence, if there's any kind of crime, if your name pops up as are affiliated with some type of a gangster or something. Like anything that goes in the system, boom, your name comes up and the firearms office looks into it, right? So we're the only segment of society. Sex offenders aren't looked at as much scrutiny as we are. Right? Gang members aren't looked at. They're given more rights than we are.
We did hear from Heather Jenkins, press secretary of the Office of the Minister of Justice for Alberta, and this is what they wanted to say regarding this situation. You can read the full by pausing this video now or reading it in the article for this report. I'm just going to read an excerpt for you now. Albertans and Canadians are rightfully concerned that attacking law-abiding gun owners does not address the spike in gun crime under the federal Liberal government. We oppose any policy that undermines law-abiding firearm owners, including ineffective gun buyback programs that do not combat criminal usage of firearms, and is one of the federal Liberal government's largest expenses on public safety and will spend approximately $459.8 million over the next fiscal year alone. Alberta's government is concerned when law-abiding businesses comply with federal regulatory standards, only to be met by further challenges when the federal government, quote, moves the goalpost, end quote, without researched justification for their decisions or consultation. This announcement will further impact the economic viability of Alberta's firearms businesses and industry at a time when many are already struggling due to the impact of previous federal policies. Alberta's government is exploring various options with provincial, territorial, and federal counterparts and external stakeholders to protect law-abiding firearms owners from federal overreach.
We have to fight this. I have to fight it for me as a sport shooter. I have to fight it as me as a manufacturer. I have to fight this as somebody who wants the shooting sports to thrive. Because the thing about this 9mm rifle is it's easy to shoot. It uses small cartridges. It's adjustable at the back, so it fits anybody. So we have, like, we're going out next week to support a women's shoot group. This is perfect. Kids love this. I was just we were doing a demonstration, and we had these 12-year-olds shooting this rifle because we can make it short enough, right? So it fits them properly. So it makes it very safe. When you teach firearm safety, those people who've been taught firearm safety in hunter education have a much higher percentage chance of getting through university, through college, less chance of being arrested. Like, there's all kinds of things that firearm safety, hunting safety teaches people about responsibility and accountability. And I think that's a wonderful thing for society. I did everything I think I could have. I mean, back in the early process, I offered to send them a prototype. Then it took them until now to come up with this determination. And I said they actually, when a different reporter from a legacy media called them on this, they told him that they hadn't heard about this rifle until June of this year. And so they acted very, very quickly in their opinion. But I mean, I got all the documentation where they acknowledged receipt of my technical data package. When we were ready, we let them know it was coming to town, and then it took them 13 months to come back with this erroneous determination. And they didn't even call me. So you'd think that something like this, they would reach out to the manufacturer and say, listen, according to us, we think this might be prohibited. Do you have any more technical data? Like, we'd like to go through this and do some due diligence first, as opposed to them issuing this prohibited status FRT. And then when I write to them, it took them a week. They finally did get back to me last night. I really hope the RCMP will give this an honest, real review. There's so much distrust, and they keep talking about misinformation. But this is blatant misinformation. They've erroneously published a classification based and saying it's a variant of firearms that has absolutely zero in common with. This has affected, I had to let 5 people go. I had to shut down one of my retail stores. Like, I just was building it, $300,000 down the drain. Like, this has real ramifications. We have dealers with these stuck in inventory they can't do anything with. We have 2,000 people who bought these rifles at $1,600 that are sitting in their safes at home. So this isn't like it affects just me. It affects so many people on so many levels that they can't do this. They have to stop doing this.
Have you ever thought, maybe it's time to relocate to a place with a Second Amendment?
Actually, we're doing that right now. We're in the process of, we've actually incorporated Sterling Defense in Texas. We're going to move our manufacturing down there. And we'll still be part of Canada. We'll still do a sales office. We'll do things. But I can't rely on Canada anymore I can rely on Canada to be aggressively nasty to me. And that's the problem, is there's no consistency.
We also reached out to the RCMP. We are still waiting for that response, although it seems like they are certainly taking their time. For Rebel News, I'm Sydney Fizzard. Handsofourguns.ca is where you have to go if you want to see our latest on stories like this. Stories about how the federal government continues to intrude on lawful firearms owners, despite the fact that most of the criminal activity revolving around guns is done through criminally transported guns into the country, not legal firearms owners. So if you want to see all of our latest, go to handsofourguns.ca.
Doing a story on something particular?
Yeah, there's a firearms owner or producer, Sterling Arms, and they created a gun that was supposed to fit all of the restrictions and regulations. And then at the last minute, the RCMP decided that it was too close anyways because of aesthetic reasons as opposed to functional reasons. So they shut his production down on that front. So it's one of many things that has happened to him over the last few years with regards to the restrictions and such. So, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So hopefully, hopefully he'll be able to keep his business in Canada. But otherwise, he's...
Where is he based?
He's based here.
Calgary?
Yeah, but he's because he doesn't see a viable pathway to get his business to, sustain itself in Canada.
Well, it's not a very good business anyway.
Firearms?
Horrible business.
How come?
Firearms, they should be shut down.
Shut down? How come?
Because they're dangerous.
Well, so are knives, right?
Yes, but you can't shut knives down. You can shut firearms down.
Well, I guess to each their own, right? So.
Yeah. No, I hope he goes bankrupt.
Well, that's a very unfortunate thing to say about anybody.
Well, I hope he doesn't suffer too badly, but I hope the business does not thrive. That's not a business we want in the city.
Well, the only reason you're safe is because of firearms, right?
Yes.
Well, maybe that's something to consider.
Some other business, I wish him luck, but certainly not firearms. We don't want them. Keep them out.
Is that a British accent, I tell?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys are leading the charge on that, aren't you?